Hello there. Welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. That's Paul Chian. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. Welcome back. Well, we've got a match down there that doesn't have top 8 implications. The players coming in are both 6-6 and 1, but it has big implications for our constructed master slot. We've got Shaun McLaren, and he's playing against Ivan Floch. Now, Shaun is still in the running for constructed master, but he's got a lot of work to do. This is kind of one of those lose and out scenarios for Shaun, so he's got to win and keep on winning, and he even needs a few more things to go right beyond that. Let's head down. It's time for round 14 here from Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. Hello and welcome back to coverage here. We're in Kyoto, Japan. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Paul Chian, and we've got round 14 action for you lined up here, where we've got Ivan Floch from Slovakia, who's on 6-6 and 1 record. Now you might be going, wait a second, is that what's going on here? The reason why we're taking a look on this match here is that his opponent Shaun McLaren from Canada, playing blue-red control, is also 6-6 and 1, but is still alive, still hanging by a thread for that constructed master slot that would get him into the World Championship. It's a huge deal, and Shaun finds himself in a scenario where if he loses this match, he will not be able to get constructed master. Now, he is not in the lead for it right now. Right now, that is Sebastian Pozzo from Argentina, and Shaun is trying to hunt him down. It's going to take a win here, though, just to keep his name in the ring. So let's see what happens here. Ivan Floch's going to kick things off quickly. Send a little message here. Village Messenger is going to get in for one, and yes, transform right here on the first.
Yeah, and this is, you know, theoretically, in my mind at least, we haven't gotten to see too much of this matchup, but I think this is a horrible matchup for blue-red control. There's not a lot of ways it can gain life to prevent the mono-red deck from finishing them off with, of course, the Raminep Ruins. And as we saw in the last match, Guillaume Fatapa adjusted his list. Okay, with mono-red in mind, he opted to forgo playing Sweltering Suns, which is a better sweeper against decks like Zombies, and opted to play 3 copies of Kozilek's Return in the main. Looking at Shaun's list, Sweltering Suns, no Kozilek's Return.
Uh-oh.
Right, and he's also, even in his mana base, I think he was like maybe perhaps concerned about kind of slower matchups, grindy matchups. He's playing cards like Desert of the Mindful, which is a tap land. He's playing an Ipnu Rivulet, which is a pain land. I just can't see things going well for him if Ivan just gets a normal draw as a mono-red deck.
Yeah, and so far, that's exactly what he's had here. 2 1-drops to kick things off, though. Land 3 is coming down. It's a Sunscorched Desert, which is going to knock Shaun down to 16, and every single point of damage is going to matter here. And right now, Shaun needs to have one of his many removal and or counters. He's got Censor here for the on-crop Crasher, but bang, he's still taking 4 damage and dropping down to 12. And like you said earlier, he doesn't really have ways to interact with Raminep Ruins in these Sunscorched Deserts, ways that that Ivan Floch can get to 4, maybe 5 extra damage out of his mana base and makes things very difficult for McLaren. Now, McLaren, though, it's a good time for a Sweltering Suns there. Gets a nice little 2 for him.
Yeah, I mean, Sweltering Suns is a reasonable card, too, against mono-red, but it's not nearly as effective as a card like Kozilek's Return, because this deck has a ton of haste creatures, and Shaun McLaren casting the Sweltering Suns, but Ivan Floch still able to get in there with the Village Messenger.
Yeah, Village Messenger gets in for 1 point of damage, and Shaun is already down to 11.
And that was a moment where, you know, again, Shaun had to tap out to play Sweltering Suns. If Ivan Floch just untapped and played a Hazoret the Fervent there, for example, not a whole lot Shaun could do there.
Right.
Oh, this
is bad news for McLaren. Supreme Will. He's not countering anything. He's just digging around, presumably for a land. I don't know.
There's no way you'd play this main phase unless you absolutely have to draw a land. And if you look at McLaren's hand, it's all blue cards. I think in this matchup, he'd prefer his hand just be filled with red. But
wow.
He's not going to be doing anything for a while. I think his hope is that Ivan Floch is just maybe holding a handful of braids, just so that
shock your
he
face.
can't do any damage. So the reason why Ivan Floch is going for a shock to the face here is if he draws a Hazoret the Fervent, he can actually cast it and attack. Whereas, you know, the other card in Ivan Floch's hand was an Abrade, and he has exactly 4 mana in play.
Yeah, finding a target for the Abrade might be an issue here for Floch, but it certainly won't be to find one for the shock. And it looks like he's just repeated his first 2 turns of the game here with a Falconwrath Gorger to follow up. And Shaun McLaren's life total dwindling quickly here down to 8 with a bunch of reactive spells and a bunch of cards that just don't really do much to the board here.
I mean, I do like Shaun McLaren's hand. It's full of card draw and torrential gear hulks. But in this matchup, there's just not a whole lot he can do.
He's going to play the Desert of the Mindful rather than cycle it.
Right.
Sorry, that's an Ipnu Rivulet.
Right. And is he going for the main phase?
Yeah, he just. I guess he just doesn't want the messenger to transfer.
Right. If he's going to cast it anyways. And he does have a couple of copies of Magma Spray, and I think he's probably digging for it. So if he doesn't see a Magma Spray, he's probably just going to bottom the cards. And look, again,
more blue cards.
More blue cards.
In fact, now he has Sensor with a mountain up. Can't even cycle it.
Exactly. Oh, and there it is. That's a Raminap Ruins.
And that's a huge draw here. That represents 4 damage over the course of the game here for Floch, just as the board sits.
And that's the crazy thing about this red deck now. Because it has access to Raminap Ruins and Earthshaker Kenra, you just almost never get flooded when you play this deck.
Wow, that's such a special thing for a red deck like this, where that usually is a major weakness.
Yeah. And the thing is, Shaun McLaren doesn't have any instant speed removal effects in his graveyard, so he does have a Torrential Gearhulk that can go get in the way of one of these creatures, but he's still going to take a single point of damage from one of those 2 creatures, and if he does that, well, Ivan Floch's got a Raminap Ruins and another desert on the battlefield, so all he needs to do is draw another desert. Draw another land to get Shaun McLaren.
Yep, any land in his deck over the course of the next 12 turns. I mean,
Right.
How long is it going to take for McLaren to actually win, even if he does get going?
Yeah.
I guess it's.
He could find a disallow to maybe try to
6 turns.
counter an activation.
There you go. Okay.
Right. And the reason why Shaun McLaren here is going for the main phase Torrential Gearhulk is to flip over the Village Messenger. If you cast 2 spells in a turn, it will flip back and lose its menace ability. Yeah, now Shaun goes down to 3. He's definitely going to go down to at least 2. So all Ivan needs to do here is draw land or a burn spell.
Well, he's got that Abrade.
Or the Abrade, of course. All right.
That can destroy target artifact, and that'll get that Torrential Gearhulk out of the way and clear the way for Ivan Floch to win a very convincing Game 1 over Shaun McLaren. We'll talk sideboards in a little bit here, Paul, because you got to think that McLaren packs some type of punch, for the cheap aggressive decks, because, like you said, his deck does seem more geared towards the longer game decks. We're going to touch on that and much more. We'll be back after these messages.
Play Standard each weekend to win special Standard Showdown prize boosters. Hour of Devastation Standard Showdown events are hosted by local stores each Saturday and Sunday. Find a location to play at magic.wizards.com/Standard Showdown.
HasCon is happening September 8th through 10th in Providence, Rhode Island. HasCon will be hosting a Magic the Gathering Iconic Masters release event, 25th anniversary drafts, Magic spell slinging, and all your favorites from the world of Hasbro. Join the family. HasCon tickets on sale now.
And welcome back to the feature match area here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Paul Cheon. Welcome back. It's nice to see you. We've got a little bit of side table action here between actually our top 2 seeded players currently left in the field here. Paulo Vitor Domodorosa, who's really just been kind of running the tables here. He's playing against Sam Black, and boy, do they have a board state between them. Though the card that kind of stands out here, Paul, is Hazaret the Fervent over on Paulo's side.
Yeah, yeah. I've talked to kind of multiple teams that were looking to play the red deck, and I all asked them, look, what's the key to the mirror? Do you have any tech? And basically everybody told me more Hazarets. Well, Paul is the one with the Hazaret on the battlefield, so I would guess that he is the person in the lead, but Paulo is at 4 life here.
Oh. No cards in hand, it looks like. Sam's at 8.
Yes, Paulo is at 4 life. Sam's got a Ramunap Ruins on the battlefield. He has the ability to put 4 creatures onto the battlefield here by attacking with the Karizev, making a token, the Kenra, and the Falconwrath Gorger. And because the Karizev has Menace, one of the creatures will get through if Paulo has no removal effect. Then you can use the Ramunap Ruins to finish off Paulo. Oh, but he had an Earthshaker Kenra in his graveyard, so he's eternalizing here.
That's right. He's going to eternalize, make it so something can't block, and
wow.
The whole team. It looks like Paulo actually did have 1 card in hand, so that was the thinking that Sam Black did. But that turn worked out beautifully for Sam as he picks up game number 1 from Paulo. And, you know, these players are very much in the mix for a top 8 here. I mean, Paulo looks like he's just good to go. He's 12-1 right now, Paul.
Right.
So he has losses to give. Sam Black, a little bit less. He's at 11-2.
Yeah, still a solid record. I did talk to Sam Black earlier, and he's going to need the top 8 to get platinum for next year.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. All right, well, we've got our main table ready to go again. Let's see if Shaun McLaren can find himself a little bit more interaction. You know, he found himself with way too many card draw spells and counters and that kind of thing against a deck that can come out of the gate so quickly and really punish that type of draw.
Yeah. And similar start. Turn 1 Village Messenger out of Ivan Floch. But again, Shaun does have more tools out of the sideboard. He's got 3 Thing in the Ices, a Whirler Virtuoso, which is excellent in this matchup because, you know, a mono red deck, the mono red deck just plays a ton of like 1 mana 1/1s, 1 mana 2/1s, and the Virtuoso, you know, puts 2 creatures onto the battlefield. But no Thing in the Ice turn 2. He's got 3 of those. And he also goes up to the full 4 copies of Magma Spray. So I think he has a fighting chance. But again, I would still just be on Ivan's side in the dark.
Ivan does get to transform that Village Messenger and start getting in for 2 a turn.
Right.
The Menace, less likely to be relevant against Shaun, though sometimes it'll pop up. Still, a 2-powered 1-drop looks pretty good here for Floch. And he's got Carry Zev Skyship Raider as the follow-up play, but that's going to get censored.
Okay. Let's take a look at what Shaun's working with here in terms of his interaction.
Oh, there's an Abrade.
Wow, and he opted to be patient there. He did have the ability to go for the Abrade on the Village Messenger, but opted to keep up the censor there.
It did pay off for him as well. He's just going to play another Wandering Fumarole and pass the turn back to Floch here.
And he opted to play the Wandering Fumarole instead of playing the Supreme Will, meaning he's fully committed to using the Abrade here. But he is keeping it up, and the reason being is Ivan Floch can play a land and play an on-crop Crasher, which is, you know, has 1 more power, deals more damage. So you might be wondering why there's a commit to memory in Shaun McLaren's hand. It doesn't seem like the greatest card in this matchup, but Hazaret the Fervent is a gigantic problem, and the only way the blue-red deck can deal with it is 1, counter it, or 2, put it on the top of the library and then counter it.
Maybe use the Ipnu Rivulet to mill it away.
Oh, yeah, he could do that.
Little cute.
Yeah, but it is an out.
All right, so Floch is deciding which threat he wants to put out and in which order. McLaren will likely use a Abrade here to kill something. If it's just the Village Messenger that's attacking, he's just going to have to kill that.
And Ivan opting to attack here to kind of force the action from Shaun. If he does have a removal spell, now he can safely drop a creature this turn.
Shaun's going to drop down to 16 off of the Sun-Scorched Desert. And, ooh, a 3-drop here for Ivan Floch.
Wow, and that's really interesting.
Aethersphere Harvester.
Aethersphere Harvester is typically a card that you would expect people to bring in an aggressive matchup, but Ivan Floch opts to board it in here. I think likely looking to play around sweepers.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, he saw Sweltering Sun's game run out of Shaun McLaren, so Aethersphere Harvester makes it so that, you know, you're less likely to get blown out by effects like that. Also, it's a good way to go over the top of cards like Thing in the Ice.
Use a regular energy counter, please. Got it. Thanks.
All right, but Shaun had a much more comfortable life total here at 16. Ivan just trying to figure out what the perfect creature to deploy here is. And his hand is just a land in 4 creatures. All right, and
Floch is, let's just say he's deep in the tank here in the last couple of turns.
Yeah, Floch kind of more comfortable playing control deck, so he's really going deep into the tank. You know, he's fully aware of all the cards that Shaun McLaren could have because he has had a lot of success, of course, playing control decks, and just trying to figure out the best course of action here.
Yeah, we do have 2 Pro Tour champions battling it out here. Let's not forget that.
Yeah. So will Bomat Courier resolve? Playing around the Supreme Will. All right, what's next?
Another Village Messenger. How about that one?
Shaun could opt to counter that. Another thing he could do is, you know, Ivan is very likely to crew the Aethersphere Harvester with the Village Messenger. So when Ivan opts to attack with the Harvester and the Bomat Courier, he can choose to put the Aethersphere Harvester on top of Ivan's library.
Yeah, he may do that off of the Falconwrath Gorger now,
Right.
since it doesn't have haste. But Shaun said, okay, all these things happen. And that does clear the way for a pretty nice little attack step here for Ivan Floch. So Shaun's going to have to do something.
Yeah, I imagine he's going to try to want to preserve his life total here. What's Shaun working with right now? Just a commit to memory.
He's just going to play Supreme Will just to dig.
Interesting.
He's taking 5 damage as a result of that.
Wow. Is he looking for a Magma Spray? Ooh.
What did he hit?
He hit a Sweltering Suns.
Okay, that will clean up nicely. But you mentioned the Aethersphere Harvester being potentially good against sweepers. Well, it kind of looks good here.
It's definitely going to do work here. And Shaun's going to take 5 damage. And again, you know, dinking and dunking, little points of damage here and there. We see 2 Ramunap Ruins and a Sunscorched Desert on the battlefield.
Aether Hub number 2 joins the team here for McLaren, who is going to cast Sweltering Suns and say, away with you.
Yeah, but he still can't feel too good about this. He's down to 11 life. He's got 2 mana up, but he doesn't actually have a way to interact with whatever Ivan chooses to play on this turn. So, you know, the window is here for Ivan to just drop a Hazoret if he draws one.
Right. In his hand, he's going to have to settle for an on-crop Crasher.
Yeah, which is a reasonable thing to do. And I imagine he's probably going to crew the Aethersphere Harvester because Shaun McLaren could have something like a Magma Spray.
Where he would need something like an Abrade.
Right.
To get rid of the
Harvester.
Right. No, that makes sense. If you just attacked with the on-crop Crasher and he goes, Magma Spray that? You're like, oh no, just give away 3 damage. Now, McLaren's down to 8, and I got to say his collar's got to start getting a little tighter, though. He is starting to get to the point of the game where he has enough mana to start, you know, casting some bigger things, though. It looks like he's not hitting his land drop this turn.
Yeah, but again, Ivan Floch has 3 deserts on the battlefield, with, you know, one of them, of course, being Ramunap Ruins. So if Ivan just keeps drawing lands, you know, those deserts can just finish the job.
Okay, here's commit to put the Aethersphere Harvester 1 from the top. That means that Shaun's going to take 0 damage this turn, staying at 8 life. That's a good start.
And Shaun really needed to find a land there as he's holding a Torrential Gearhulk in hand. I wouldn't be surprised if he opts to just cycle the Censor that he just drew for his turn here, just to try to hit a land drop.
Now, he also has another Sweltering Suns in his hand that he could use to just clear the board.
Yeah, so he can opt to do that and keep up Censor. The thing is, Censor is basically a dead card currently.
Yeah, it doesn't hit anything.
So it's still better to cycle because he could hit a card like a Wandering Fumarole or a Spire Bluff Canal, which are lands that come into play tapped. Ooh, now
anticipate?
So now we're in a tricky spot. Is he going to try to anticipate to find an untapped land for Sweltering Suns? And it looks like he's not going to opt to take that risk.
Yeah, a little too risky if it doesn't go. And bang, Shaun McLaren's going to fall to 6. Thank you, Ramunap Ruins.
So any haste creature here is going to be good. Yep, Earthshaker Kenra, that's another 2 points of damage.
Yeah, this one is really starting to slip away from McLaren. This matchup looks awful for him.
Right.
And I'll remind you, Constructed Master. Shaun McLaren needs to win out to even have a shot. If he loses this match, he will be out of contention. We've got our other contenders here, including Li Shitian and Sebastian Pazzo, who is the leader in the feature match area right now. Wow, interesting too. Sebastian Pazzo played against Seth Manfield this round, both at 10-3, and Sebastian lost in 2 games. So
wow.
Seth Manfield has beaten him. I bet you Shaun probably looked out the side of his eye and said, well, okay, there's a little glimmer of hope, but then looked back down at the battlefield and doesn't feel so good about it.
Yeah, but it's, you know, things are looking really, really glim for Shaun McLaren here. He doesn't have a way to interact. He's got the Earthshaker camera on the battlefield. And again, 2 ramming up ruins, and he has a land in hand. So Shaun McLaren effectively at 2 life.
And just a few lands away from Floch before he's dead.
Exactly. And
now, you said he doesn't have a way to gain life back.
Right.
So he just has to try to get Floch from 23 to 0 before Floch finds those lands.
Exactly. Yeah, the only way the blue-red control deck can kind of mitigate the ramming up ruins 2 ways. We have Disallow, which Shaun is only playing 2 copies of. You can counter the trigger once, the ability once, and of course, just trying to kill your opponent. But currently, with Ivan being at a comfortable 23 life, Shaun has a lot of work to do.
By the way, you may have noticed Paulo Vitor Damarosa in the background there for a second, shuffling up. That's right. He has beaten Sam Black in game number 2, forcing a game 3 on that table. We'll be keeping a close eye on that one as it develops as well. But for now, Shaun McLaren is facing Constructed Master elimination unless he can find some way, somehow, to stay alive at 4 life versus Floch here.
This will be a pretty reasonable turn for Shaun in the sense that he will be able to play the Torrential Gearhulk, likely going to target the Abrade when Ivan Floch chooses to attack with the Aether Sphere Harvester. But again, Ivan has a land in hand, which puts Shaun at effectively 2. So any burn spell or any land, that'll be it for Shaun McLaren. Oh, and Ivan already just has both of the lands in hand here.
Mountain and even a Sunscorched Desert just for the rub-ins here from Floch.
And this is exactly kind of how you would expect this matchup to play out. Shaun didn't have a terrible draw. He had some interaction. He had Censor. He had Abrade. He had Sweltering Suns.
Kind of interesting. He actually went for commit there.
Okay.
He knows that that card can't kill him on the spot, so he'll just replace not his next draw, but the one after.
Okay.
But this is probably not going to matter because the Sunscorched Desert is going to knock Shaun down to 3, and then Ramanop Ruins activation is going to knock him down to 1. And with the land in hand, Ivan Floch simply needs to be able to untap and have Shaun McLaren not have Disallow, which it doesn't look like he's got in his hand.
Yeah, it actually looked like he boarded some of them out, and I think Ivan is mindful of the fact that Disallow could exist in Shaun's deck, which is why he went for the main phase sacrifice when Shaun was tapped out. Yeah, things looking very, very grim.
This is about it for Shaun McLaren. A tough Pro Tour for him at 6-6-1 right now, and just about to get knocked out of contention for for Constructed Master.
Shaun needs to find a way to deal 23 damage and counter Ramming Up Ruins ability. Is he going to continue digging here?
Yeah.
All right, we got a cycle.
This is it.
Okay.
Nope, that's not going to do it. Scavenger Grounds does not interact. Well, he's going to go out swinging. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Knock you down to 18.
And he's just going to be tapped out, and Ivan just has the land here, so
yeah, all you guys
that's it. You just got to show the land.
Tap, play the land, and that's game. Boom. Ivan Floch wins the match, knocking Shaun McLaren out of contention, and that leaves us with 2 players with a realistic shot of Constructed Master. That's Sebastian Pazzo, who was ahead, but just lost to Seth Manfield, which could dig into his lead because Li Shitian is the next one in line there. And he's actually up a game right now over Max McVitie in the feature match area on that back table there as well. In fact, we're going to pop in on that one right now. And here we go. So that's Lee on the right-hand side. That's Max on the left. And, oh, boy, do we have a board state here, Paul.
Yeah, turning back the clock a little bit. Classic little matchup here, Mardu vehicles against zombies.
Yeah, throwback.
Yeah.
And both players seem to have been able to kind of enact their game plans here as we see Gideon ally of Zendikar on the battlefield for Max. But on the other side of the table, Li Shitian has a massive board with Lord of the Accursed and Liliana's Mastery pumping up 5 total zombies, including what looks like at least one active Crypt Breaker. So, oh boy.
Yeah. This is looking like could be a pretty tight race, but I mean, Li Shitian's board looks pretty overwhelming right now. He's got 2 Anthem effects in the Lord of the Accursed and the Liliana's Mastery, just an army of zombies. And also looks like he might be up on cards too. Wow, and a Grasp of Darkness. All right, so he uses the Lord of the Accursed secondary ability, which is 1 and a black tap. All zombies gain menace until end of turn. And I imagine he's just sending all of them in at Max McVitie here. He's going to activate Heart of Kirin and boom, fatal push. And yeah, that'll do it.
That is going to do it for Li Shitian.
And Li Shitian takes down the match here?
Right. So that means that Li Shitian has won his match and moved a little bit closer to catching Sebastian Pozzo, who lost his match. As we came in here, Pozzo was on 87 points. Now, this is the total for all the constructed rounds for the year. Li Shitian was on 82. So now he's on 85 and Pozzo's on 87. Unfortunately for McLaren, he stayed on 81, so he's not going to be able to catch them. But we got a close one here.
Oh, yeah.
Like if Pozzo loses and Li Shitian wins, I think he's going to steal it.
Yeah, that's it.
This could be very interesting. All right, now this is the good stuff here because this table has nothing to do with Constructed Master and everything to do with this tournament we're watching right now. This is Paulo Vitor Damarosa sitting in #1 place in the tournament at 12-1, an unstoppable run from the Brazilian. On the other side of the table is Sam Black, who's at 11-2, and he's #2 on the rankings right now. So these players looking good for top 8, especially in Paulo's seat, because realistically he's just going to be in. On the other side of the table, though, Sam, you know, he wants to pick up another win here.
Absolutely.
Kind of lock things up. And this is one game that Sam could do that in. And it looks like he's off to a good start. He'll be on the play here as Paulo won the last game.
And Sam's at least got to be a little bit happy that the first land that Paulo opted to play here was a Ramunap Ruins. That usually gives away that the opponent doesn't have access to a basic mountain, meaning that if Paulo wants to cast a lot of his spells, he's going to be taking a decent amount of damage. And oftentimes in this matchup, it's down to a race. So, you know, Sam off to a good start here. If he has a way to kind of clear the way, get that Karizev off the board, he's going to be pretty firmly ahead. Ooh. All right, Sam getting everything in there, but Paulo has some tech.
What does he have?
In his sideboard. In his hand, Paulo Vitor has, and it's going to be completely brutal here, Savage Alliance.
Wow, really?
Yeah, but he doesn't have a third land. He needs to find a third land to play the Savage Alliance.
So he's going to have to settle for either some type of blocker or an Oath of Chandra?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
There's Savage Alliance for you.
Yeah, so if he drew the third land, it would have been really, really strong here. But
yeah, you see that bottommost mode.
Right. Dealing 1 damage to all of Sam's X1s. You know, Paulo still has a reasonable play. He's probably going to use one of his removal effects to get something off of Sam Black's board. But again, his opening draw, double Ramunap Ruins. End of the mirror. You know, sometimes it's nice because you can use the finish off your opponents. But if you don't draw a basic mountain, it's, you know, all these points of damage that he's taking, very, very relevant.
He's left back Karizev. She's a fine blocker for that Earthshaker Kenra. or the Messenger.
Wow. Okay, so I was going to say Sam Black needs to draw
Well,
land, but
can't
or
do that work.
or another Earthshaker Kenra. That's 5 more damage.
Wow, this is piling in quickly. Can Paulo Vitor find a land?
He needs a land right here.
He did. He
did.
found a mountain off the top of
Oh.
his library here, and that is going to open up the world for Paulo Vitor Damarosa.
Right, and no sandbagging here.
3 for 1?
Yeah, no, this is totally insane.
And I don't think Sam Black's going to feel very good about getting hit by Ragavan because, boom, his board just disintegrated in front of him. How can he come back? Well, he found a land off the top. That puts him 1 away from casting Chandra.
Okay, so
He's also got a Chandra's Defeat in his hand. Okay.
and it looks like Paulo Vitor also drew a Chandra's Defeat.
Well, everybody's got the sideboards.
Yeah.
And that's going to take care of Kari Zev. That's inside of combat, but before attacks.
Right.
And there's a Pia Nalar now for Paulo Vitor. He's going to get himself a Thopter before passing back. And Sam Black found a land right off the top. So back-to-back lands for Sam Black means he can cast Chandra if he'd like.
This is getting pretty interesting. It's what is Sam Black going to opt to do with this Chandra? He can either plus it just to kind of get in for 2 more points of damage, or minus to get the Pia off the board.
He's going to plus it and say you're at 4. Tick-tock.
All right. But Paulo Vitor does have that Chandra's Defeat in hand, which
is going to defeat Chandra, as it were. All right.
neatly get rid of the Chandra. But Paulo is down to 4.
He is, and this is a scary spot where he's going to really have to manage his resources because, like you said earlier in our other match, most of the creatures out of this deck have haste.
Right.
And at 4, with Ramanop Ruins on the battlefield, you are very close to being dead, and Paulo's going to have to be really careful here.
Yeah, it puts Paulo in a pretty tricky situation because you have to make sure you put on enough aggression so you don't give Sam the ability to just kind of draw lands and ramming up ruins you out. But at the same time, Sam, like you mentioned, lots of haste creatures. So how many creatures will Paulo keep back here?
Yeah, Sam's at a lofty 15, and Paulo does have a significant amount of work to do here.
Yeah. And again, those ramming up ruins really punishing Paulo.
Seriously. They've been so good. I mean, there's a reason we call this Ramanop Red.
Yeah. The ideal draw here for Sam Black, I'm going to go with Sunscorched Desert. As it'll put Paulo to 3. Then by using the ramming up ruins, it'll put him to 1, meaning that those ramming up ruins that Paulo has in play cannot be used for red mana. But Paulo's hand is pretty solid. Again, that draw of Chandra's Defeat in the previous turn, going to handily get rid of the Chandra, but will he instead? Okay. He might actually opt to just keep the Chandra's Defeat in hand for maybe a haste creature and just use the creatures to get rid of the Chandra that's on the board.
Does he have enough power to do so?
He's got 6, so
Okay.
yes.
Sam Black tapped out and out of card, so he knows that he can do this however he chooses is best. This is an incredibly important turn for this match, and that's why you see Paulo kind of taking his time to really make sure that he gets it right. And he's decided to attack Sam down to 10. He did leave back a Thopter for any potential top decks here from Sam Black, and then he used Chandra's Defeat to defeat Chandra. What does Sam find?
We got a nail biter here.
He found a mountain. That does get him part of the way there, though. With only 1 desert available, he is going to need more.
Right, so currently Paulo has access to, can do 6 damage on the board, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If he pumps the artifacts up twice with the Pia Nalar, that's 8 damage. So not quite enough. This isn't quite lethal. So if Sam Black draws a Ramming Up Ruins, or a Chandra Torture to Defiance, or a Shock, he can get Paulo Vitor Damarosa. So it all comes down to a top deck.
It does, because right now Paulo cannot win this turn. It is going to be a 2-turn clock, and that's going to leave the door open for 1 turn. 1 short turn here for Sam Black to find 2 damage off the top of his library.
Sam just needs to draw a burn spell.
Yeah, he's got to use this Ramanop Ruins, and he needs to find another Ramanop Ruins, a Chandra, or a Shock.
Yeah, those are the cards that he can draw. A creature won't do it, especially because Glory. He's only down to 4 lands, so he can't just draw Glorybringer to end it here either.
That's right. Earthshaker Kenra does not get it done. Let's see if Sam can find it.
2 damage burn effect. Here we go.
Oh, he found Ramanop Ruins off the top. And he defeats Paulo Vitor Damarosa by the narrowest of margins.
Look at he's just stone faced. He just topped like the perfect card.
And
oh
that
my
has to
goodness!
put Sam into the top 8 here as well. He's X-2 going into the last. So
he's 12-2. Wait, is he? He's 12-2. There's two rounds left.
Yes.
Yeah, so he can lose and draw and still make the top 8. So top 8 for Sam Black.
Wow, nice draw step, sir. Sam just calmly says, exactly how I drew it up. That's what I had in mind when I built the deck, and that worked out nicely. Now, as we mentioned before coming in, Paulo, he had a loss to give. I mean, he's sitting at X-1 with 2 more rounds to go. Now he's got 2 losses. He'll probably have to take a draw in one of them to make it in. But very likely, looking like we're going to see both Sam Black and Paulo Vitor Damarosa in our top 8 here.
Yeah, Sam Black, again, prior to the deck tech that we did, or the draft builder, I was like, what do you need for Platinum? He's just like, this season hasn't really been going too well. I'm going to need the top 8. Every single match counts. Well, Sam Black, you're X-2 with 2 rounds to go.
Wow. What an exciting news for that. Okay, we've got a whole lot going on with the Constructed Master. That's been shaken up this round. And, of course, our top 8 starting to come into form here. We're going to have all the updates and news at the news desk. But first, these messages.
Welcome back to the news desk. Wow, what a moment. That is why we watch Magic off the top. Sam Black, Rich, still knocked out of your chair after that?
Paolo just got ramen out, ruined. That was incredible stuff. I mean, if that's going to happen, you want it to happen when you're still going to make the top 8, all being well.
Oh, yes.
But that is just... Paul made it card of the day yesterday.
Yes, he did.
And that's why, right there, just great
well,
stuff.
From somebody who's been in a lot of pro tours to somebody who's enjoying their very first one, our very own Brian David Marshall is out on the floor with Tina Dahl.
Thanks, Maria. I'm here with Tina Dahl. Tina, it's always great to see more women playing on the Pro Tour. 2 women playing today on day 2. Congratulations. This is your first Pro Tour, but not your first experience playing at a high level. You were a judge for a number of years.
That's true. I guess 5 or 6 years where I was actively judging GPs.
And what's the difference playing high-level Magic versus judging high-level Magic?
Oh, that's a tough question. You just caught me off guard right there. I don't really feel that big of a difference, to be honest. There's always the whole get-together, but it's just a bunch of different people who do that. You feel the pressure whether you're judging or playing. If you're playing, it affects me personally. If you're judging, then obviously I want to be as good as I can, because if it affects them, me doing something wrong, I would feel bad as well. So there's a pressure. It's just a different kind of pressure.
Now, you talked about the get-together aspect of Magic, the social aspect. You had an opportunity to play test with Team Genesis and a lot of the remnants of the Team Eureka group from way back when. What was that experience like preparing for a Pro Tour with such high-level players?
Well, I liked it, but that's also in part because I really like the people we were testing with. And actually, I tested, because usually I don't really test that much. I just play a bunch of Magic Online whenever I feel like it, and for a GP, Martin usually gives me a deck saying this is what you're going to play, and then I play it the best I can. So actually testing was a different thing for me to do, which I ought to do, let's be honest here, but I get to test. I got to hang out with a group of really cool people. I like them. I knew most of them really well, and some of them just met a couple of times while we were going out to dinner, or if I filled in for a guy missing in the draft before for the testing.
Now, what's next for you? What's the goal to get back to this level?
Top 8 at Grand Prix, I guess. We already talked on me a little bit about how much I've been doing to get here in the first place, which is not that much. And I think I will continue kind of that road. It was nice being here. I really like to get back as well. But I don't think I will do anything differently other than maybe trying to step up my game at the GPs so that I can qualify through that.
All right, Tina Dahl, thanks so much. Congratulations on your first Pro Tour, making day 2, and enjoying yourself along the way.
Thanks so much, BDM. Well, we've got another deck tech coming your way, this time with Martin Yuza. Let's check it out.